Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Mallory Winnie Diaz. I'm here with Casey Payton. We are members of the Virgin Islands Bar, and we're here to talk to you today about some of the programming we have put on over the past few years as members of the Young Lawyers Committee here in the Virgin Islands and as also members of the ABA YLD. So I am currently working in private practice at Dudley Rich. Casey works for Legal Services of the Virgin Islands. Both of us have been members of our Young Lawyers Committee here in the Virgin Islands and active in the ABA YLD. Casey's held lots of different positions and has brought me along. So we're really happy here to talk to you today. Some of the things that we've done together are we have our first event that we put on was a landlord-tenant event. It was a landlord-tenant town hall, and it was after the hurricanes in Irma and Maria in 2017. So those hit, and so this was a result of some of the issues, legal issues that arose from those hurricanes. We also put on a Young Lawyers Leadership Summit here in the Virgin Islands, and we had young lawyers from throughout the US and the Virgin Islands. Casey probably remembers exactly where some of them are from that came down, and we had a great weekend on leadership training and making connections and lots of fun. Last year, well, maybe 2020 now, we did a mediation CLE based on, it was after the pandemic and doing mediation via Zoom and just mediation in general. And finally, our most recent project, bigger and better, was a landlord and tenant clinic this past summer in 2021. So we put together a large programming for a clinic to help young lawyers and really lawyers of all kinds learn about landlord-tenant issues here in the Virgin Islands. And so that's going to be kind of our focus today is the clinic, but we're going to talk a little bit about all our programming and the things that we've learned doing all of these things.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mallory, for not just doing this today, but for doing all these things with me. I can't do an event without Mallory because she, number one, I need her for moral support, but also she just gets things done. If I ask, can you help me with this? It's done. And it's so nice to have somebody that, you built the relationship with them and you can trust them and they're going to show up on game day, ready to go every time. And so we've really kind of just, over the years, I think we've made a really good team, and each of our programs has gotten better. Like we've definitely found ways to improve on each program. So when I look back at the recording for our very first landlord-tenant town hall, I mean, we've definitely come a really long way. We have more people who attend. We have we're just more prepared as far as the information that we provide and letting people know what to expect and things like that. But there's a couple of things that we always make sure to do if possible. And one of those is that we always try to have CLE credit, and we lead with that. So when we're brainstorming, what kind of event do we want to do? We're like, okay, how many CLEs can we get for this? Because that'll show like how much interest there will be among young lawyers or other folks in our bar. And so this past event that we did, I mean, it was by far the most CLEs. And it was a multi-day event with a lot of engagement. And so that's what we're going to focus on. It is our second landlord-tenant event, but our very first summer tenants' rights clinic. And so I want Mallory to kind of talk about how we got it started, and then I can kind of maybe talk about it after after that.
Well, I'd say, Casey says she can't do this without me, but none of these CLEs would happen without Casey. She is always the brainstorming child behind everything that we do. And she comes up with these great ideas. And then we usually have a quick session and, what's our goals, or how could we, what's the best way of getting people to come and do this? But, it's always Casey that has the idea, that wants to do something. And so having that idea, whatever it may be, and then, talking to other attorneys, other people in the community, and just seeing, what is the need? I mean, I think that kind of drives what we're trying to do. And Casey sees that as working at Legal Services, she sees what's needed. And so then our goal is to how can we get engagement from attorneys to help out with that. But it's really the brainstorming idea that's kind of the first piece, and having someone motivated to drive that. Because then after that, it's all the details, and the details are important. The details are very important for putting on a good CLE. I think that the planning is important, and planning early, and asking your requests from other attorneys and other people early on, and being upfront and honest with them about what you're needing is really important. But also, having like a really great idea is topic is also really important for getting people to want to come to your event, as is, at least here in the Virgin Islands, CLE credit. We are a mandatory CLE credit jurisdiction, so the attorneys have to do them, and if it's a fun way to get CLE credits, they're going to want to show up. Also, as we talked about a little bit too with our with the clinic this time, we also incorporated an element of pro bono service. And so I think that was really important, because it also, for the clinic, and what made the clinic special was we did kind of two parts. Really three parts, I would say. The education about landlord-tenant law here in the Virgin Islands, kind of practicing those skills, learning what you need to do. Then the pro bono aspect of it, which was actually getting cases and being able to work those cases. And it was a requirement for completing the clinic and getting the CLE. So, and then the third part was we also had an element of mentorship, pairing the attorneys that were in the clinic with some mentors. So the three different aspects of it, like, I think brought a really great, full, robust aspect to the clinic without being overwhelming to the attorneys. And we had 2 days of training, but the rest of it, the clinic was spaced out over the entire summer. So it allowed the participants the time to do what they wanted to do and do as much as they wanted to do. There was a bare minimum, but we encouraged everyone to do as much pro bono activity as they wanted. And pro bono activity, it feels good to do it. Your jurisdiction may require pro bono credits, I guess you can call it, or hours. I suppose it's hours at that point. And it's also, if you are in private practice, it's really, it looks good if you are doing some pro bono activity. And it's also just a way, as some attorneys, if we get really focused in on what we're doing on the daily. So this is another great way to exercise your brain and learn new skills by picking up some of these very specific types of case law, like in this case, landlord-tenant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I kind of want to go into some of the details of this clinic, but Mallory's right. I mean, I kind of come up with these crazy ideas, and I'm like, this is what I think it could, this is what I think we should do. This is why I think it would be helpful. I'm like, what do you think? Do you think this is something that, people would show up for? And then Mallory's like, yeah, sure. What about this part? And then I'm like, okay, let's put it on the calendar. And
the calendar. Casey is wonderful about that. She puts things on the calendar. We have a meeting, and the next meeting is on the calendar, and that calendar is essential for getting things done timely.
Yeah, I mean, whether we probably meet like every other week or something like that. Maybe every other Friday or something for about 45 minutes, usually by Zoom. And this is what comes out of a calendar when you kind of work. I'll put up our syllabus so that you can see. So all of this was done before the clinic started, thank goodness. But it came out of our meetings. So the Summer Tenants Rights Clinic, I wanted to do a syllabus. I was like, well, this is going to be legit. Like, we're going to learn things. And so we need a syllabus, just like you would have for any other online course, right? And so I have a little synopsis. I said we said what the structure was, the CLEs that we were looking for, that you could get from this clinic, and then the learning objectives. I think that's so important. I feel like everyone's doing learning objectives now, so that you can kind of test yourself to make sure that you're actually giving the participants the information that they're looking for, right? And then so after that summary, then it's broken down into the days of the clinic. So there were 2 main days for training where there was an online, webinar CLE, and then a classroom instruction. We pre-recorded the hour trainings just because it took a little pressure off of us, knowing that we only had to do 1 hour of classroom instruction or discussion instead of having to do the training on the same day. Just pre-recording it, I think, made it a lot less pressure for the instructors. But it worked well as far as timing goes for the participants, because they could just say, okay, 2 hours this day, 2 hours this day, I'm done. And then we put in here, after you did the instruction, after you learned the training, then you would actually put that into use with pro bono, providing pro bono assistance through legal services, right? So my office is Legal Services of the Virgin Islands, and I'm in charge of the pro bono program. So I would connect people, different attorneys, and they would take on a case of ours pro bono. So that meant I was in charge of like the contracts and following up with pro bono hours and, that kind of stuff that I do all the time. Every legal aid, legal services, they have a pro bono person. That's what they do. And so it just fit perfectly into the job that I have. And then we also decided to follow up with a reflection. So the last meeting was a 1 hour reflection where all the attorneys could come together and say, this is what these are some of the issues I ran into, and to see if people had common experiences and to maybe come up with some ideas like, where could we go from here? Are the laws working? That kind of a discussion. We made this real official with all the faculty bios. So I was one of the instructors. You can see Mallory here was the moderator. And then we have the mentors here at the end. And we were really careful about choosing our mentors. We wanted to make sure that they were folks that would not only be forthcoming with lots of great information, but that were so knowledgeable and would be helpful. And I think everyone had a really good experience with the mentors. So I'm gonna stop sharing this so that we can finish talking about the clinic. So what did I miss, Mallory?
I think you went over everything there. Great. The only thing I would say is, don't be afraid to ask people to help you, to either be an instructor, to be a mentor. I think people really enjoy the recognition that they may have something to offer to other people. They may be a little nervous to get up and speak or to be on film, but generally speaking, I think most attorneys are used to talking in public, or if they're not, they're willing to do it and build that up a little bit, because that's also a skill. And that, that was one of the skills in this clinic that we wanted to address, even just talking in public and what to do before a court. And so, that was in one of our trainings, like we did some role plays with the students and everything to kind of work on that. So feel free to reach out to your network, which is what we did, but also reach out to people that you think would just be awesome from, hearing about them around town, or that that they are in landlord-tenant cases a lot. So people like that, don't be afraid to ask people for a help. And I think one of the other things which Casey does such a great job of and is really, really important is the recognition of the participants in completing the program. We created the certificates of completion. Is that what their title? Certificates of completion, yeah. Very fancy, signed by us. It said they got credits, that they completed it. So just having a certificate to put on your wall or add to your collection, or whatever you want to do with it, feels good to get that recognition. We also, we relied on our bar to publish notice to get people involved. We had to get the credit approved from the CLE, having that syllabus and having everything detailed and running that through that made getting CLE credit for this really easy, having that pre-planning. And then I think we also gave some recognition at, I think, our annual meeting. Absolutely. As well, in front of the entire bar. So that, it's good to recognize people that are giving their time for things like this.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up, right?
Checking my list to see if there's anything we missed. I think that's it. We hope that you are interested in putting on a clinic or any other programming. We are always available and happy to talk with you, or if you have any questions. I think we're creating a little pamphlet to go along with this, so our information will be in there, but if not, I can be reached, again, Mallory Winnie Diaz. I can be reached at mdiaz, D-I-A-Z, at dudleylaw.com, DUDLEYLAW.com.
And I can be reached at legal services. And so my email address is cpayton, Payton, at lsvilaw.org.
Good luck. Have fun.